Good morning. This reflection is called Lego and Life. I'm taking some thoughts from Kim Hawtrey, who writes this little story. In January 2001, the Powerhouse Museum in Sydney hosted a huge Lego exhibition. It was school holidays, and everybody loves Lego. People piled in from all sorts of places. Toy building blocks that click together to make structures. You can imagine how thousands of eyes lit up when the multitudes walked into that exhibition space at the museum that day. And that was just the parents. The kids went crazy. It was an interactive exhibit, and for some this was the best part. There were tables full of Lego and bits, and anyone could have a go at building something. Some of these construction spots featured special effects. One of these was an earthquake platform. The tables sat motionless much of the time, but every now and then it would erupt into a violent shaking motion. The tabletop had been wired to wobble every few minutes to stimulate an earthquake and test the structures people had built upon it. I stood and watched as a boy built a tower. His mother was with him. Up went the tower, higher and higher, as the kids, full of enthusiasm, also applied all the engineering skills to the construction. Green, yellow, blue and red blocks. It was an incredible design. Before long, it was taller than the boy himself. Then all of a sudden, the table base vibrated. Disaster struck. Down came the tower. Lego cascading everywhere and scattering across the floor. You can imagine it, can't you? The whole structure had collapsed. Nothing remained, apart from a few tears in the young boy's face. It reminded me of a story Jesus told in Matthew chapter 7. There was a wise man who built a house on the rock. The rain came, the floods rose, the winds blew, and the house stood firm. It did not fall, because it had a strong foundation. Another man, whom Jesus described as foolish, built his house on the sand. The rain came, the floods rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. Finishing his story, Jesus concluded, "Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise person who built his house on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish person who built his house on the sand." Life is a lot like that Lego table. Things seem to go pretty steadily much of the time, and it's so easy to be fooled into a sense of complacency. But one day the earthquake will come, and the judgment day when Jesus exposes the sins of people. On that day, we will need a firm foundation. Jesus and his word, the Bible, believed and acted upon in our life, is that firm foundation. So the question this morning is, what are you building your life upon? Are you building your life upon his word? Anything else, it will crash.